Here we go.
Sick.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah. You know what? I want to thank you for fitting me in here because I know that you have a busy day, right?
No, it's just like I feel like just every day I try to, I don't know, it goes through waves with me. Like some days I'm like packed at nines and I do it to myself, like when I'm running my calendar, I just say yes, yes, yes. And then I look up and I'm like,
Same.
oh, actually, no. Actually, that's a no because I
Yeah.
have three other things I'm supposed to do at that time. But
Yeah.
yeah, I only teach one class on Tuesday and Thursdays in the morning. So it frees up the night. It's really interesting because my entire career, I feel like I've always been bookended. I've always done morning and night, morning
Hmm.
and afternoon, morning and whatever. So there's always like another one hanging over me a little bit. Like something you have to like kind of be cognizant of, like what you eat, how you rest. Like you have to like as an athlete in that way, like
Hmm.
think about that.
Yep.
Um, and Tuesdays and Thursdays have been super refreshing because it's like I just get to do all the other business of me type of stuff.
Yeah. I guess that led me to a question of like when you're talking about taking care of yourself, and I've listened to some of your podcasts and really great inspirational stuff that you share.
Thanks.
Um, but do you ever just like have the burger or whatever,
Oh my
just
God, all the time.
okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I've never been, I've definitely gone through different seasons where I have wanted to like audition for something or a photo shoot or whatever, but I don't think that you can live that like you can't have that all the time.
Right.
And I think that maybe some people live like that, but I think like everybody, you go through waves of different things. If you're working towards something, if you're training for this, if you want to audition for that thing, or you want to look a certain way for a certain event or something like that. And I call it like locking it up a little, but I am like a cookie connoisseur and I do and eat all the things like one would believe. I also am low key because of my job, a cardio monster. So like my dad used to joke, like he would go to dinner with me. He's like, I feel like you eat like a linebacker. And it's like, because I could, but also I'm getting older now and your metabolism changes and you have to be cognizant of all these different things. So I just feel like it's a constant, ballet dance of give and take what you want, leave what you don't. Oh, this worked at this time. This doesn't work at this time. Or, oh, I'm training for that marathon. So I have to think about this. Or I think it's an ongoing, like process. And
Mhm.
I think if more people could learn to just kind of like be a little more fluid with it than just so rigid and
Yeah.
regimented, it just would like ease up. I could like ease up on the reins of your life a little and enjoy the ride versus being like riding like that.
Yeah. It's good to hear somebody like you say that. And I'm sure that you preach this to people a lot, is just that if you're good most of the time, then those few times that you want to let loose, you can, right?
Absolutely. I think everything in moderation is super, super key, just literally and everywhere in your life, really, like beyond it all. You could take that, far beyond
To every
fitness,
aspect.
health. Yeah, you
Yeah.
could take that everywhere. So I think when I related it, I did this on a coaching call once, and I think, do you remember those toys? I don't remember what they were. It's kind of like a gag gift, like when you go to like a birthday or a carnival or something. It's like the more you squeeze onto it, it's like a jelly thing. Like the
Yeah.
more it rolls
Yes.
through your hands. I forgot what they're
Yes.
called, but it's like some kind of fidget toy. And
Yeah.
I've related that to like trying to have such control over things where you're holding on so tight that it just slips further away and you like really can't grasp it. Whereas if you kind of relinquish control and you kind of just ease into things more and you allow yourself to stay in awe and curiosity and not berate yourself for falling in and out of whatever imaginary line you've created for yourself, I think life's a lot more
Yeah. You have a lot of great nuggets there. You can tell that you read, and I've heard you mention Brene Brown,
oh my
Gabby
God, all of the
Bernstein,
people.
Oprah, all the things and stuff in it. It's like it's created you, right? And who you
Yeah,
are. And just listening to you, like you sound like you fit right in with all of those people.
that is super high praise. And
Yeah.
I I almost can't even accept that, but I'm going to because my biggest thing I work on is receiving. As such a giver, I am awful at receiving. So I receive that. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I call that kind of like the school of life thought. Like you get out of college and you're out in the world as an adult. And I feel like your 20s are rocky, or the sooner you can figure this out, the better. But I didn't learn for quite a while. I had to like whack my head around a bunch before I figured it out. But you have to keep that knowledge going, whether you find it in books like that, or taking different classes, or taking different courses, or having the opportunity to go on trips, whether abroad or whether it's like a yoga trip or a meditation or whatever. When you do all these things, you start to just really explore different parts of yourself that you didn't know, and you're constantly in that learning place. And the more you do that, just the more you're going to show up and kind of like glow differently, I guess.
Yeah. And you certainly do. You really do. I wanted to say that I'd heard so much about you, and I go to different fitness classes and everything, and you
Yeah.
stumble on people on Instagram and everything, and so I knew who you were. And my friend Alexandra brought me to one of your classes one day, and you were just so cool. Said hello to me, and then asked me how the class was afterwards, and then we ran into each other again at Allie Raymer's event that is yoga and the sound bowls, which I love.
Yeah,
I
me
try to go to
too.
that. Yeah. And one of the things I wanted to say was, you said hello to me again, and to the people who come to your classes and see you online, you're a celebrity, right?
I mean, I don't think so, but I do, I don't even think I really have like, I think sometimes you forget because you're so deep in it, you're so immersed in your work. And I was talking about it today because actually like today is like the 3-year anniversary of my podcast. And
Oh,
I'm
cool.
really bad at taking a moment when you achieve something or to celebrate something. I am very much like, what's next? What's next? What's next? I'm always chasing a carrot. And I think you find that if you're always doing that, it's really not fulfilling. So it's so interesting to hear that from another perspective, because I think it's not that I take it for granted. I certainly don't take it for granted, but I think when you're in it and it's like your life, you don't realize what it looks like from the outside looking in sometimes, whether that is like good, because like some people don't see all like the crazy behind the curtain, like the Land of Oz stuff that goes on. People are always like, a day in your life. I'm like, it's not cute. It's not sexy. It's like me crying at the PT office because, like my back is hurting or something. That's like the stuff I'm not going to be like, hey guys, let me show you like all this awful stuff going on. Although sometimes I want to, but then like the reviews are mixed and then everybody like, it's just weird. Instagram can be weird.
It is. Yeah.
But yeah, hearing it is, I guess, sometimes like I know I created impact, but hearing it from other people definitely doesn't get old. It's always a amazing, great, awesome reminder. So yeah, I think it's just
Yeah.
interesting to hear
I'm
from the
glad
other
you're
side.
able to receive that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like breaking the fourth wall a little, like you like all of a sudden like see more. I don't know.
Yeah. So it was cool to see you go to, I love when I see the camaraderie between
Yeah.
different fitness instructors too. Allie, I've always been like a fan. I take a lot of her classes. I've been on a couple of her retreats. And at one point, I didn't realize you were in the class, but she said something about there's spin instructors in here or something. And then I saw you afterwards. And I was just like, I love when I see that, because I'm sure that there can be some rivalry between, people. But I think the Boston fitness community is just so cool and so connected.
Yeah, I think it's a very, I mean, I've been involved with a few of them because, I lived in LA before, and then I did like a brief stint in New York for training. And then I've been in Boston, and I've traveled around the Hamptons or like Palm Beach, different places. I've been really lucky to do a lot of cool stuff for different fitness events. But I think that in an industry where, we like to say it's collaboration over competition, but at the end of the day, it's challenging to embody that, I think, because so many of us are just really just trying to create a name and like make a living. And a lot of us our money, the way we make a living is literally by who shows up in our class, like paid per performance, per head in the room. So, you want to believe a rising tide lifts all ships. Let's do this together. And you hope that everybody really embodies that and calls people out. I mean, when people come take my class, I get mad if they go to another studio or they teach somewhere and they don't tell me. I like literally get so upset with them. I'm like, I would have gave you shout outs. I would have gave you whatever, like go take other people's classes. But I also think it takes I think it takes being in a really secure place in your career to be able to give that type of energy so willingly or just so freely. Cause it's like, it's not that I don't care, but it's like, I don't believe that you being amazing negates me being amazing. And I think
So
it's,
true.
but I think that takes a little while to figure out because I think as humans, we are wired in that like scarcity mindset a little bit. And we're
Mhm.
always going to have to like return to love and do the work to not let I always say like our human archaic brain that's like trying to protect us at all times, trying to like keep us alive. It's really hard to override that programming a lot of times and come out of that like scarcity survival mindset and be like, no, it's okay to like, there's enough for all of us type
Yeah.
of
Yeah. I'm in real estate, so I feel the same
same,
way.
so similar, right?
Right.
So like sales, I mean, all this stuff
Yeah.
literally just is people skills and sales. Like it's whether it's real estate, whether it's fitness, it's very similar industries, hospitality, events. Like this is all very interconnected when it comes to just like the transferable skills.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's like I always feel like there's this, butting heads or this like I don't like that
Yeah.
girl or there's competition or something like that. And I'm like, there's just so much real estate around Boston. Like everybody can do their thing. You have your own niche, of people, they're gonna, come and work with you. So
Yeah.
there's room for everybody to be successful. And especially I think as women, we have to help and support one another.
Yeah. I don't know why that's so challenging.
Yeah. This is
Yeah.
not everybody's on board, just
Yeah, I haven't
some
been
aren't.
able to crack that really. Um, that's like a question for God or somebody above my pay grade.
So getting back to your classes and just like kind of how you embrace like the people who come in and take your classes. And I noticed it with me. And we had just met the one time and you follow me on social, you comment on things. And I think that's probably a big part of your success is engaging with people, right?
Yeah, so I did a workshop on this recently, just talking about how powerful when I first started in training at SoulCycle, like I remember I didn't really know the music. I just felt like I was just doggy paddling, like to keep my nose above the water. But I noticed a good friend of mine who is a massive social media sensation, like coaches people on social media. Her name's Jara Foster. She was in my training group for SoulCycle at the time. And she was like, Instagram is super new, but she was like crushing it on there. And I was like, what a cool way to stay in touch with, like, how do you engage with these people outside of the room? And that's how I knew Instagram was going to be important when it came to creating that messaging and creating that following and cultivating that community. And so, I ran with that as
Mhm.
as as much as I could. And it's really, I believe it's a testament to my success. Absolutely 100%.
Yeah, so, just commenting on other people's things. Again, it's a similar thing to what I do, following up with clients or whatever, and, engaging with people and not just liking something, but actually saying something to them, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you'd be surprised. I feel like now it takes so much for people to even like something because I think attention span is just so low. I mean, 5 years ago, I would say like 5 years ago, it was between like 6 to 8 exposures to actually get someone to engage. And recently I've heard, I think it's like 20, like it's 20, 30. I'm like, there's still people that coming up to me. They're like, I didn't know you had a podcast. I'm like, no. But it just goes to show you. And I never get like, I try not to let myself get upset, but like in the moment,
Yeah,
I'm like, are you kidding me?
I feel the same. Yeah.
But I also am like, okay, that just means I need to talk
Talk
about it
about it
more.
more.
I need to do more because like clearly somehow it's either not in like the algorithm or it's not coming up or it's going by too fast. So it's so crazy because like you get so in your head and self-conscious from like a sales perspective of like I'm annoying people, I'm inundating them, and they don't even see it. It's like you have to do it 100 times more than you actually think to create the kind of impact you want because people are just not paying attention. I think we're just like there's so much chatter and there's so many ways to be distracted now that it takes so much more for people to be like, oh my gosh. And I've always alluded it to how many times, like as a consumer, we're all consumers in some way. Have you put a pair of leggings in a cart or a jacket you really wanted, or that same ad keeps coming up on Instagram? You're like, oh, I really want those socks, or like that sticker or whatever
Right.
you're being targeted for.
Right.
How many times does it take to actually come up before you actually might buy it?
Right. This is so true. Right. Well,
It's crazy.
let's talk about your podcast. So it's called Wicked Fearless, which is not just your podcast, but also a program that you've created. And so which came first?
So the podcast came first. So
Okay.
3 years ago, it was like 2019. So it was pre-pandemic. I had gone to a business conference and saw a bunch of like really, really awesome people. And I came home and I was just like, screw it, I'm going to start it. I was actually kind of like marinating on this earlier because I was like, I couldn't remember the last time I did something so consistently in my life other than Soul Cycle. I've been with Soul for going on 7+ years now.
Congrats.
Yeah, it's crazy, wild. Thank you. And I was like, what else have I done? And it's really interesting. I was like, I started the gratitude practice at a very similar time. And I always thought it was bullshit. And all these like high performance people were like, gratitude practice, do it, do it, do it, do it. And I was like, that's stupid. I'm never going to do it. But when I committed to it, it's interesting how much things have kind of transpired from it and come to fruition from it. And then, so that I was thinking about that today, the gratitude practice, as well as Wicked Fearless podcast. So that came. And then honestly, when we shut down, COVID, I guess I was like, how can I keep serving? And I myself was in a coaching container at the time, helping people build out these type of programs, no matter what industry you were in, which was terrifying. I invested all this money into this coach. And then all of a sudden I didn't have a job. And like everything in my being was like, pull out, like get your money back. Like, this is so scary. This is so scary. And I was like, you know what? I guess I'm always like, well, what's the worst that's going to happen? I mean, at that time, I didn't think I wouldn't be back on a bike for 6-7 months. I don't even remember how long it was now. And so I just committed to creating Wicked Fearless, which is my coaching container. And I struggle, and I probably should sit down and create some superpower statement around like what it actually entails. But it's very similar to all the things I talk about in terms of how you show up as that better version of yourself and all the tips and tricks and tools. I basically took everything and every question people ask me over and over and over again. It's literally like creating the program from what people are constantly asking you or what people constantly want,
Yeah.
creating it, and then delivering on it. And what I did, which was kind of interesting, and this is how I was taught to sell, I sold the program before I built the program,
Wow.
which was scary, right?
Yeah.
So you have all these people invest in you, and it holds your feet to the flame to then show up and create this awesome thing. And it helps you get out of that perfectionism because you don't have a choice. It's like, this week we have a call and I said we were going to talk about these things. I have to create these, you know, exercises and videos and all this stuff I want to go along with it. And I have to deliver. It's like you have a non-negotiable there and no way out.
I
So it
love
was kind
that.
of crazy.
Yeah,
Um,
that's a great way to keep yourself accountable.
It was really cool. And when I had heard that, like, I was like, what? You're just going to sell air? You're basically going to sell air to these people? I mean, imagine getting like, you show up and you're like, that would be like you, like the house isn't like you just picking a random like
Right.
apartment or house on like Newberry and being like, explaining it and getting all these people to invest and buy into it. And then being like, okay, now I got to go
I
like
got to
build
get
the
that
house.
listing.
Yeah. I got to get the listing, or I got to create this house on,
Not a bad
the,
way to manifest some listings. So,
yeah, I mean, yeah, take what you want, leave what you don't,
okay,
right?
thank you.
Transform it into whatever works for you, right? So, yeah, so I created that and it's been great. So I've been running that, this summer I think it'll be like 3 years. So 3 is a number coming up a lot, which
Yep.
is cool.
Yeah.
Um and yeah, and that's how I created that kind of out
And
of
how's it going?
great. I've had like 50 plus people go through it, and it has always run as an 8-week program, and I'm turning it into a 12-week program as of
Yeah.
2023
Mhm.
to just give it more space to like go a little more in depth. And then this year, actually, I didn't run Wicked Fearless. I usually do 4 a year, and I'm going to just do 2 a year now with
Okay.
an accelerator. So my accelerator is called Finish Fearless, and it's only offered to people who have done Wicked Fearless. So it's like
Mhm.
the 2.0, like let's take it a step further.
Yeah.
It's a little more high touch capacity. And I bring on guests and like all sorts of fun things. So it's just really groovy. And you know what? It's always changing because I'm
Yeah.
always changing.
Yeah.
So it's like you just never know what else it's
Right.
going to entail.
So how the podcast get started?
So the podcast, I literally just bought a mic on Amazon, and I went to school for entertainment and music business. So I knew how to work GarageBand, and I literally DM'd a few people and I was like, so how do you get the podcast when you record it? Like I have the recording. How
Get
do
it to
you
the
get it?
world.
How do you get into the world? They're like, you know, you got to have a host site. So then I like Google host site. So I use Buzzsprout, but there's a million out there, I'm
Mhm.
sure. I don't
Mhm.
know. Maybe there's not a million. And
Yeah.
then I just started uploading. And, you know, when I started, I didn't have an intro. I didn't have an intro music. Okay. Then I was like, how do I find intro music? Okay. I have to buy that. I have to buy the licensing. I feel like we have this really awesome thing called Google, and it's like
Amazing.
Google and some grit, and you can probably figure it out. Am I blessed that I have the audio type engineering skills that I can edit my own podcast? Yes. Does it take an insane amount of time sometimes because I want it to sound a certain way or I'm tweaking it? Yes. Maybe at some point I will hire someone to like edit it. But for now, I'm like, it's within my wheelhouse. And until that time becomes more valuable than me like tinkering and having fun with it, um, you know, that's kind of the way I do it and how it
So
started.
cool. I was listening to the episode of Eat the Damn Cake with
Oh my
you on
gosh.
it. And this is where I heard you first talk about your background in entertainment and
Yeah.
music business. And that's my background. So I was
Oh my God, so
intrigued.
funny.
So I was in radio and television for probably the first 20 years of my career.
Oh my gosh, so cool.
And all the things that you're saying right now resonate with me because I did the exact same thing. And I use I use Libsyn, which is the platform that allows me to put this out there. But
Yeah.
I also use a different form. What the hell is it called? Hang on one second here. I'm going to pull it up. Audacity. I use
Yeah.
Audacity.
Oh, a
So
great
that's
program.
and so like when I was in radio, you would have the Vox Pro, which would allow you to like, take your phone calls and edit and put things in and stuff. I have so much fun doing it. And just like you said, it sometimes can take me a long time. And when I say that my podcast is going to be out on Monday, sometimes it's Tuesday because you know,
Yeah.
but it is so much fun. But I love hearing that you had this background. What were you hoping to do with that?
You know, I don't really know because I feel like when I went to college, things changed so drastically with technology so
Yeah.
quickly. It was
Yeah.
like I feel like I was like on the cusp of everything. Like this certain like I don't know. My senior class was the first people that got Facebook because we were the first class where you had to have a college email to join Facebook. Like that's how Facebook started. Like, hey, if
Right.
you're listening and you don't remember that, like that's how it started. And I remember going into Belmont University in Nashville where I went to school and waiting for that school ID so I could get my Facebook and like go find all the people I was going to go to school with. So I don't know. At the time, like I thought I was like I wanted to work at like in music. Probably I was like, oh, maybe I'll go to Capitol Records. Maybe I'll work at a big record label. Maybe I'll work at
I
Sony.
knew that that was what you were going to say. You probably want to
Yeah,
work for a
like
record label or something. Yeah.
yeah, maybe I'll work for Sony BMG, or I like really liked Rock Mafia at the time with like Miley and all that. And I don't even know if that I might even be not even in the correct timeline, but
Mhm.
Big Machine Records was just starting to get big in Nashville, and now it's huge. Um, Sony Red, I had a couple different internships here. When my first internship in LA for Belmont West, I landed with Ellen DeGeneres. So that was fun.
Oh,
So then
cool. So you
it was like
were working there?
production. Yeah. So I
That's
worked there
cool.
for my senior semester, my spring senior semester. So kind of wild because when I think about it, like that took a lot of guts. I don't know. I just had this like life zest that I was going to go. I didn't care. Belmont West, always had it in my head. I don't know why. Um, you know, to be like that young and just be like, I'm going to skip out on my like glory semester of college and go out there was really fun and cool. And that kind of started the LA bug of working in entertainment and for different people in Hollywood, and like led me down that whole kind of like
Yeah.
rabbit
How
hole.
cool is that? I love it.
Wild.
So getting back to your podcast, I love that you're doing it all yourself too, because there are a lot of companies now that will do things, and I'm literally in the same place as you as I think about it.
Time for
Like,
money. Yeah, it's
yeah, it's
tough.
like, oh, do I want somebody else to do that and give it like that different look? Because video is a big part of it now too. And do I want to have a studio where I can sit and interview people there? Or continue to do it this way. And I have to think about the moneymaker,
Yeah, totally.
but to me, this just was a passion project for me because, um, my daughter is a millennial. She was telling me to do a podcast, and I was like, well, I don't want to talk about real estate on my podcast. What can I do? Passionate about women, and like,
Yeah.
talk about cool women around Boston, and it's given me so much. Like we started similar timing. I'm on 2+ years now myself,
Yeah.
and 100 some episodes just like you.
Yeah.
So, so it is
Yeah.
just so fun, and to watch, like you said, to watch the industry change. So when I was in what they call terrestrial radio, right, and it's changed so
I
much.
love radio. Like
Yeah,
I want to be a radio host more than anything. Like I have bugged Mikey V so many times. Like, how do I get on Kiss 108? Like, how do I do? My buddy is like, works at Sirius XM, and I'm like, can I like do BPM channel 51
that's
and
my
pretend I'm a
thing too.
DJ? Yeah, me too. Or like chill. Like I want to be
Yeah.
like guest DJ so bad. Like I think it'd be so, so fun. Like I think radio is so cool. So I don't know. I don't think it's terrestrial or like dinosaur. I don't. I love it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's different now with so
Yeah.
many other options, to listen to, like Sirius and Spotify and so many things when you can listen without commercials. But yeah, it was a good time, doing that for so many years. I did mornings mostly, and I would just, get up at 4 o'clock in the morning to go do a show, and it just never felt like work ever. We're
Mhm.
talking to listeners, we're talking about pop culture, we're talking about the news, our lives. I came out as a lesbian on the radio,
Yeah.
and it was
That's
so
crazy and
fun, yeah,
cool.
to
Yeah.
think
Like
about. Yeah.
today's the day.
Yeah.
Surprise.
Yeah, exactly. It was just fun. It was just so much fun. And it's just interesting. I went from that career into real estate, and I always think I had fun for all those years, and now I literally work. So this is a nice outlet, and I can tell that it is for you too.
Yeah, I think also, I was actually creating a reel earlier today talking about like I have personally been struggling so much with, you do it consistently for so long and you're like, okay, I want to create a bigger impact. How do I go bigger? How do I whatever? And it's this again, this dance between, yes, I am creating impact and I also want to go bigger. And social media, I think right now is really challenging because for me, what I've seen several times over the past week is like a TikTok superstar or somebody will create a podcast and immediately it's number one on the charts like overnight.
Right.
And it's disheartening. I don't care how much like spiritual work you do and work you do on like coming home to yourself and knowing your purpose and knowing your impact and knowing your work. I do not care how much work you do. Like I cannot stand when people are like, yeah, but you just gotta like whatever. I'm like, honestly, like I'm all set with you. Like be a real human for a second. Be a real human. It's really hard to not feel some type of way about it. And I think that that's where the consistency can sometimes be challenging, like to show up every week and figure out what you want to do. Like it is a labor of like, as much as I love it, it is challenging sometimes. But like, what the hell am I going to talk about? I have nothing going on this week or this happened. And I don't really feel particularly jazzy right now to show up and like give a pep talk. So I think it's like so fun. And I think there is a lot of like, challenges with it too.
Yeah, yeah. You know what? I do like that you share that though, when you're on your social media, you share that side of you. Maybe I don't feel so freaking peppy right now,
Yeah.
and I'm going to say it right here.
Yeah. It's become a lot more challenging over the last couple of years because I think people are just so sensitive to everything you say and everything you do. Um, like I shared something I shared that story about me not feeling some type of way. And I got some messages that were like, you should book a session with me, or like, let's work on your mindset. And I literally wanted to be like, fuck off. How far can you
Yeah.
fuck off?
Right.
Like, because it's like, I am giving you an opportunity to come along on my journey of vulnerability with me. And that allows you to see into the way my mind works. And I do it in hopes that one, people don't feel so alone. And two, so that you know that I'm not this like made of Teflon, and I'm just because I have this platform, or I've created this personality, or I sell out my classes, or whatever bullshit narrative is out there. Like, I feel things too. And like, that's all okay and part of the process. And I think it negates when, like, if I feel irked and annoyed when I get messages like that, I can't imagine if someone isn't as confident and doesn't have all the things I have going on, how that feels when they are want to be vulnerable and they want to share their story. And they're like, it almost feels like being preyed upon. And I
Yeah.
find that really gross, is the only
Yeah.
word I can think of.
No, I hear
Um,
you.
like, you want to share these things, and it's like just a place to hold space and work on your empathy skills
Hmm.
without selling.
Yeah,
Again.
it really makes you more relatable from our perspective, right? To
Yeah.
see, yeah, that the person who, has the glamorous life to us, and has so many great things and has so much
Yeah.
to offer is also sometimes down,
It's so crazy because, like, to me, like, the glamorous life is just like, it's hilarious. Like, I don't know what people see. Actually, this would be a funny, like, I don't know,
See,
thing to
yeah,
do.
to ask
Like,
people.
what you think my day looks like? Because I let me know, girlfriend, because I'm so curious what you think. But like, I'm fascinated with that. And so, I
Mhm.
mean, and then it's like, how much do you show? How much do you, whatever. And
Yeah.
to be honest, pre-pandemic, I had a lot more fun with social media and stories, and like, I was crazy. I remember one of the craziest stories I talked about was like something with Dunkin' Donuts and like having diarrhea. And I'm not kidding, Kim. I think I had 10,000 views on that story. Like, and it was a story. It wasn't a reels
Right.
didn't exist at the time.
Yes.
Didn't even freaking exist. Like, when you think about the stuff, like TikTok wasn't even really a thing before COVID. Reels didn't even exist. Like, all this shit did not exist.
Right.
It's just wild. And I don't care how much work you do on yourself. You could read every
Yeah,
book.
it's
You're
like the
still a
silliest thing.
human. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're still going to feel down. I'm still going to be like, I'm still going to have days like, why do I even do this? Like, is it even creating impact? Or like, you're going to second guess yourself. I think second guessing yourself and feeling like an imposter in your own life is just proof that like you're stepping into new levels of yourself that you weren't in before. It's like, I always relate it to I'm like kind of like a video game person a little bit, not
Yeah.
like crazy. I'm not like a crazy video game person, but um I always think of like Mario or whatever, like beating like mini bosses in your life, and you level up, and then you go to the next level,
That's
and
good.
like trying to beat the boss, and the boss is usually me in my own head talking some whack shit that's not true.
Yeah.
But that's what it is. And so I have a little thing I always say to beat, like, you already beat the boss. You've already beaten the mini boss. The mini boss is like usually in your brain, or
Mhm.
usually you telling you can't do it. So like, you don't be the reason you don't go do that thing. But it's hard. It's
Yeah.
hard. We're constantly inundated with
Oh,
everything
yeah.
else seeming like they're blowing by us in life.
What did you call that? Comparison itis, right?
Comparisonitis. So I got that. So when I did not coin that word. I don't know who
Yeah.
coined that word, but I think someone I followed for a while, she's an Australian kind of like spiritual, cool. I don't even know how to describe her. Her name is
Mhm.
Melissa Ambrosini. She has several books I've written, but I honestly think she has a book called Comparisonitis. And I was like, oh,
Mhm.
I like that. So yeah, that's what it is,
Yeah.
comparisonitis.
It's all true. We all have, but I will leave you with this. I love that you use those little nuggets and those little things that you share, even with like Mario Brothers or something like that. And you'll
Yeah.
throw that kind of thing out during class and it
Oh
sticks
yeah.
with people. And I know you must know that.
Yeah, I was joking the other night. I was like, I hope somebody had a notebook tonight, because that was sometimes it's really good, and I'm really grateful. And I think I allude that to a lot of my practice. I'm a pretty religious person. So like, I pull from a lot of different places, and I have divine downloads from here or there. And some of them I'm studying and some of them just come to me. And I love that they really resonate and land for people. I think that is always really cool when someone's like, oh my gosh, you said this one thing and that changed, da 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 da, or they'll DM me a year later and tell me a story. And I'm like, that is so cool to hear. And I never get tired of that because, as I alluded to before in the beginning, like, you're just grinding a lot of times in your own life and you don't even realize the type of impact you're creating because you're just like going through it.
Yeah. Thank you so much for spending this time with me. I really appreciate it.
Of course, this was so fun. I feel like I could keep going forever.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah. Of course,
like
I have the 45-minute piece of Zoom here, so it's notifying me that it's gonna like go off any minute. But
oh my gosh,
quick question for you.
yeah.
What year were you with Ellen?
It would have been I graduated college 2010, so spring semester 2010.
Was Tony Okumboa the DJ with her?
Yes.
Really?
Yes. Yeah.
So crazy, right? So I interviewed him one time.
Oh, I love that. I used to like steam his suits in the back when I was at the stage. So I had the opportunity to be like, I loved the wardrobe department.
Yeah.
And it's not because I like loved fashion. I just think I got along with the girls there and they were really, really, really kind to me. Like I've tried to reach out to a couple of them and find them where they are in the world now, just to be like, you were a prime example to me that I look back on now as all that I am, to be like, wow, that woman was so cool and nice to me. And I didn't even like fully understand how impactful that would be on my life. But yeah, I remember I would like steam his suits and stuff.
Yeah. So what happened was, he and I were chatting about, so vinyl was still big and I was a club DJ too. So
I love that.
I would we talked about carrying records around, but he had a bunch of records stolen from his car. And I said, dude, I have about 12,000 records I'm trying to get rid of right now. And they were all like 12-inch versions, like of what, club mixes and all this stuff, right? And I said, people come by and they want to buy like 5 of them or something. I'm like, I can't do this.
Like, I need them all gone now.
Yeah. So what ended up happening was I said, I will donate them to the Ellen show. And so he called me later on, gave me a FedEx number, and I shipped all of my records out. But they gave me a shout out on the show later. And it was cool. So he, it's like this DJ Kim from Philadelphia, which is where I was at the time, sent me all these records. And so whenever they do like this over the head shot of Tony, I would look to see, like, my name was usually written on the labels. And stuff.
I love that.
Still using vinyl at the time. So it's pretty cool, right?
Wow. That's so cool. That's very full circle and like synchronistic. So maybe we should go play the lottery today.
Yes, for sure. He was such a sweet guy. And so side note on that too, my daughter was super young at the time, and I was having her like do some modeling shots and stuff. And I had a bunch of her headshots. So of course I stuck them in to the records, and Ellen held one of her pictures up too. So it was awesome.
I love that. I love it. So good. Yeah.
Yeah.
So many stories.
Yeah.
So
I can only imagine. Yeah. Like when you had mentioned, I was listening to some stuff and you had mentioned it, like you were in LA during like the Paris Hilton days.
Oh yeah. Working at Kits, and Jessica Alba would run in from the paparazzi. It was wild. Like I really
totally
feel like
you there.
I feel like I've forgotten half the stuff that I know or that happened. And then it'll like pop into my head during like Shavasana or something somewhere, so weird. But yeah, this is so awesome. Fun. Yeah, I adore you. You're so welcome.
So what I'll do with this is probably I will, I'll have the audio, which I'll put out, and then I'll probably use clips of the video and I'll share it with you. Yeah.
I love it.
So that
I'll repost all the things, do all the things.
Thank you. I appreciate that. You're the best.
Yes. Oh my gosh. We'll talk soon. I'll message you. I'll message you because we're going to go, it's going to close soon.
See you later.
Bye.